Need help multiplying and dividing integers? Well, then you're in the right place. I'm the math professor, Kyle Martin, and this is a channel where you do your math homework fast and accurately. All right, today we're going to tell you what an integer is. We're going to tell you how to divide it, how to multiply it, as well as a little trick that's going to make this way easier for all your homework going forward. Let's get into it. All right, so what is an integer? An integer is just a positive or a negative whole number. All right, and of course that does include zero. This is really any number you can write that doesn't have a remainder. Okay, so for example, 4 and 1/2. That 1/2 is the remainder. Not an integer. The integer is just 4, okay? 4, 5, or your negatives, -7, -11, whatever. All right, so a little trick to help you when you are multiplying or dividing with these integers is this chart, okay? This chart is gonna help you decipher whether your answer is gonna be positive or negative. And then you just have to do the multiplication or division after that to figure out the correct answer, okay? So what is this saying? This is saying if you have a positive times a positive, you're going to get a positive, or a positive divided by a positive. It doesn't matter what the operation is, multiplication or division. If you have two positives, your answer is a positive. If you have a positive times a negative, whether it's positive first, negative second, or negative first, positive second, both of those cases is going to be a negative, all right? And then the last case, of course, is if you have a negative times a negative, it's going to be a positive, or a negative divided by a negative, also a positive. So how can we remember that? Okay, you can remember this by saying if the signs are the same, you're going to end with a positive. Okay, the signs are the same here and here. In both cases, you end with a positive. If the signs are different, like in the middle two, positive, negative, negative, positive, you end with a negative. All right, so let's use that trick to help us here with numbers 1 and 2. Number 1 says -48 divided by -8. Okay, well, first off, looking at our chart, we have a negative and a negative. That's our bottom case. Our answer is going to be a positive. All right, and so then you just have to know 48 divided by 8 is 6. Okay, so a positive 6. You don't need the plus because if there's no sign there, you just assume that it is positive. Okay, what about this other one? Here we have positive 12 times -2. So positive, negative, our answer is going to be a negative. Or you could think the signs are different, so the answer is going to be a negative. Then just do the math. 12 times 2 is 24, and we need to make it a negative 24. So you can say equals negative 24 for the answer. All right, number 3 says -100 divided by 4. Well, negative divided by a positive is going to give us a negative answer, so it's going to equal negative something. And of course, 100 divided by 4, well, think of like $1 divided by 4. It's 4 quarters. Quarters were 25 cents, so this would be -25. Okay, then I want to end with a division one that's a little bit tricky. And that's 0 divided by -1, okay? 0 is what's known as a non-negative number, okay? It's kind of like neither positive or negative. So that's why this one's a little bit tricky, because think if you have 0 cookies and you wanted to divide it among -1 friends, okay? This is a sad situation. You don't have any cookies to divide, so your answer is still going to be 0. In fact, 0 divided by anything or 0 multiplied by anything is just going to be 0. Again, think of the cookie example. You start with no cookies, you can't divide it or multiply it times anything, so your answer is just 0. All right, number 5 says -1 times -2 times -3. This time there's 3 things that we're multiplying together, all right? Remember when you have 2 parentheses next to each other, that just means multiplication. So my advice to you for this one is just take it kind of these first couple at a time, and then we can multiply it to the next one after that. So if we take this first 2, negative times a negative is going to give us, negative is going to give us a positive, all right? So 1 times 2 is 2, and again, negative and negative is a positive 2. If you want to put the plus sign there, you can if that helps you. All right, times, now I haven't used the -3 yet, so now I have to take it times -3. Well, now we have a positive times a negative. A positive times a negative is going to give us a negative answer for our final answer, and that's going to be negative, and then 2 times 3 is 6. So -1 times -2 times -3 is a -6. Again, taking that one part at a time. Number 6, last one, says 5 times -5. Well, this is a positive. Positive times a negative. Positive times a negative is a negative. So it's going to be negative something when I combine those. 5 times 5 is 25. -25 times a 2. Well, -25 times 2 is 50. And then a negative times a positive is a negative. So -50. Hey, if this helped you out, you might enjoy this video as well, where we multiply whole numbers times fractions.